So many of us are caught up in the daily grind, the hamster wheel of life, our 9 to 5s, but how does ditching work and giving all of that up sound? Well, if that floats your boat, then you should know about FIRE. So in this video, I'm going to be taking you through the FIRE philosophy. I'll be covering what FIRE is, how you go about actually achieving it, and spoiler alert, I've created another calculator just for you, the 25x rule, and finally, how to achieve FIRE quicker. So without further ado, let's jump right in. So to kick us off, what is FIRE? FIRE is an acronym that stands for Financial Independence, Retire Early. Now you're probably thinking, what the does that mean? Well, at its core, it's essentially about saving as much as possible while working in order to achieve financial independence, which is when the money you make from your investments will pay for your expenses. It will fund your lifestyle, essentially. That's where the FI comes from in the acronym. And therefore, you will have the freedom and choice to be able to retire early. That's where the RE comes from. The idea is that while you are working, you save and invest a large proportion of your income, as much as you can, and that will allow you to retire much earlier than most people typically do, and that's because retirement is a number, not an age. It's an amount of money that you need in order to be able to retire. It's not just about reaching 65 years old and saying to your boss,
"No, yeah, everything's fine. Hey, listen, I quit."
So what is that financial number that you need to hit? Well, in true fashion on this channel, I've created the FIRE calculator to show you some examples and to help you find out your own numbers. I'll leave the link to the calculator in the description box below as well, so you can try it out for yourself and play around with your own numbers. And while you're clicking around down there, if you want to hit the subscribe button and the notification bell to be made aware of when I next upload a video, that would be great, as it really does help me out. So let's jump right into the calculator. So there's only 5 fields you need to enter. So let's start off with the first one, annual income. Let's say you earn £30,000 a year. Now note that this is after tax. Next up is your annual expenses. So this is everything you spend in a year. That includes mortgage or rent costs, food, beer, shopping, entertainment, beer, some of these things because, I don't know, people buy them. Basically everything your life costs you. So let's say you spend around half of your salary every year. So that's £15,000. Now, as I said earlier, FIRE is all about saving as much as possible. So whatever you're not spending, you're saving and investing that money. So in this example, you're investing that extra £15,000 you haven't spent. Next up is your age. So let's put that you're currently 25 years old, and so far you've saved nothing towards your FIRE goal. And the last field, we're going to assume that your investments make a yearly return of 8%. Now I'm using that figure because the average return of the S&P 500, an index of 500 large companies in the United States, is actually around 10%. Now if you want to know more about that and why I'm using 8%, I recommend you watch my video, How to Become Rich, where I show you a couple of examples to prove these sorts of returns are definitely achievable, but for now, just trust me and go with it. And there you have it. The calculations have all been done for you. So you can see here on the left, the amount of money that you would need in order to hit your financial independence target is £375,000. And this is worked out using something called the 25x rule. Essentially, you take your annual expenses and you multiply them by 25. This is the methodology that the FIRE community like to use, and essentially it's because once you have that level of savings, you can take out 4% of your account every year to live on, which will be exactly enough for your annual expenses, and you leave the rest invested and allow it to continue to grow, and you will never run out of money. You've essentially unlocked life's infinite money glitch, where essentially your investments are growing faster than your spending. Now, in this next box, you can see the amount of years it would take you at your current income level and spending to reach that target. So in this case, we would reach our FIRE target in just over 13 years, and we'd be 39. Having the freedom and ability to be able to give up work at 39, if that's what you want, sounds pretty good to me. Now, I would be straight down to the beach sipping on mojitos all day if that was the case. And down here in the graph, you can see just how you reach your FIRE target. Of course, just saving up £375,000 sounds pretty tricky, but we have the power of compound interest on our side. And we can see that here in this graph. The red line that rises steadily represents the investments you're making, which is a constant £15,000 every year. But because we're investing that money, that grows quicker and quicker over time, and your account value, let's call it, the amount of money you actually have, is represented by the blue line. And you can see how that line rises quicker and quicker until it hits that yellow line, which is your FIRE number. If you need a refresher on the magic of compound interest, I'll leave a link up here to my video, The Secret to Investing, where I describe how to put the investing odds in your favor by being a complete and utter boring investor and just utilizing cheap index funds and regular monthly investments. And as I said, I'll leave a link to the Google Sheet in the description box below, so make sure you give that a try with your own numbers. Now, as a little added bonus, I've also created this nice and colorful table at the bottom, which does two things. One, it acts as a quick little reference guide for you to see how many years it would take you to get to your FIRE number based on your annual income, post-tax, and your annual expenses. But two, it also shows how everything is to do with percentages. Let's take someone who earns £40,000, okay? They spend 75% of their income, that's their expenses, so 30,000. It would take them 25.3 years to reach their required FIRE target. Now let's take someone at the other end of the spectrum who earns £100,000. They also spend 75% of their income, and it would take them 25.3 years to reach their FIRE target. It has made no difference whatsoever that they make way more money than the first person. And it's because both people spend the same percentage of their income. The only way you can achieve FIRE quicker is by starting to increase the percentage of your salary that you're saving. So spending less with the same salary, or earning more but not increasing your spending by as much. Let's take our first example, the person who earns £40,000 and spends £30,000. If they're able to reduce their spending to £25,000 instead, so they're increasing the amount they're saving and investing, it would only take them 19 years to reach FIRE, saving them a whole 6 years of their working life. So no matter what column you fall into on this graphic, if you're able to reduce your spending, come down the column towards the green, or move horizontally to the right by increasing your salary but spending the same amount, that will impact how quickly you can reach your FIRE target, and therefore how quickly you can get to the point where work is not a necessity but a choice. So now that you're all clued up on FIRE, what are some of the key takeaways from all of this? Well, first of all, is FIRE even for everyone? Probably not. You definitely need to have the right personality type to want to go after something like this. You have to be quite strict and rigid with yourself and your spending, and take a very long-term view and trust the process. Or of course you may not even want to go after FIRE in the first place, and that's equally fine. Now, remember, none of this is financial advice, but some good steps to start your journey to FIRE would be to get out of debt, because there's no point saving and investing while the amount you owe on your debt just keeps growing and growing every month. Second, set some good habits. So if you can, pay your future self first. As soon as that paycheck comes in, have all of your bills paid automatically, including investments. Think of that as any other direct debit or bill, and then you know what you have to spend for the rest of the month, and you can't spend more. That's it. In terms of what you should be investing in, my answer to that is a cheap global passive index fund, and I actually made a video on my top 5 index funds, which I'll link up here, so be sure to check that out as well. I also made a video on why the cheap aspect of those funds is so important in my impact of investment fees video that I'll link up here as well. And thirdly, cut down on unnecessary monthly expenses. We all have them. Maybe it's coffee at the office, maybe you have subscriptions lying around unused, or those gym memberships we signed up for in January and told ourselves we would go every day and never did. Having the freedom and the ability to dictate your own life and what you do with it, the control to chart your own course rather than letting someone else dictate it for you, telling you what to do, when and how, that's the true independence that FIRE gives. If you made it this far, thank you so much for watching. Smash that like button, hit the subscribe button, tap the notification bell, and remember, invest smarter, not harder, and I will see you all in the next video.